Are we on?
You're live.
Oh. Hello and good afternoon, everybody. Renee, how are you?
I am doing so well. So happy to be here.
Same. Well, for all of those that are joining, my name is Patrice Lindo, and here we have Renee Lindo. And let me answer the question before it's asked. We are related by marriage. And no, not to each other. We're both married to gentlemen with the last
Exactly.
name Lindo. So thank you all so much for joining.
Exactly.
Renee, I am so excited to have this conversation with you today. Renee,
Yes.
tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm excited to be here because this is a topic that I don't think we talk enough about, but it is
Mhm,
such a big piece of our careers and how we
mhm,
show up. So a little bit about me. My
mhm,
background is corporate. I came from sales, from pharma sales, as a national sales director,
mhm,
led a team across Canada.
mhm,
And just I just knew that when I put myself together well, when I was dressed well, it just gave me confidence that
mhm,
allowed me to negotiate better for myself, to put my hand up for more, to
mhm,
put myself into spaces that maybe I didn't think was possible before.
mhm,
And so, when I thought about it, I said, this is what I just really want to help women to tap into the power of their style. So I was
mhm,
able to really marry my love for fashion and style and my corporate background
mhm.
and form my business. So I'm a personal and brand stylist. So I help women to use their style as a tool to increase their visibility,
Mhm,
expand career opportunities, and
mhm.
make more money, right? And we do this by creating polished outfits in
Yeah,
functional wardrobes that align with their personal brand.
I love it. I love
That's
it.
me.
Renee, I have to tell you, we are kindred spirits in a lot of ways because I myself come from consulting with a healthcare and education background. I've been in consulting for nearly 20 years after we spoke. Nearly 20 years. And as a result of that, you are absolutely spot on when you say how you feel is how you show up. And with
Absolutely.
all of the things happening, whether it's pre new administration or you going for a new role or you've just finished school, so you've decided to do something different, I help women, well, anybody, but especially women, show up in a place that, okay, so you have your talking points, you have your credentials, you have your experience. You can use these things in so many different ways. You have to consider it almost like you're a Swiss Army knife. You can cut, you can separate, you can protect, you can do a lot of different things. So I teach women to tap into that portion of themselves so that they don't fit into a particular box, but they can create the box they're looking for. And a
Absolutely.
very big part of that is how we look, because I never forget it. And, maybe today's generation will say it's very sexist, but you feel how you look. Because I know when I have on my sweats and, my hair is on top of my head, I'm like, okay, let me just get this over with. But like this morning, I
Yes.
woke up, I said, no, nope, nope, I'm going to go find my shirt. I'm going to get my
Absolutely.
lips together.
Yes.
I'm going to get my glasses. And, and when I came downstairs, my hubby says to me, where you go? I was like, I have a workshop today. So it
Yes.
makes you feel really, really good. And
And there's
with all of the
data, right?
pressures,
Yes, you're not by yourself. There's
yes,
actual data that speaks to this, that speaks
yes,
to when we are feeling good, we reach for bright colors and
yes,
clothes that we love and maybe
yes,
a little bit more form-fitting pieces.
yes,
And then when we're feeling sad and gloomy and depressed, we reach for
yes,
these big oversized sweats.
yes,
And because
yes,
we want to kind of hide, right? So
yes.
there is real data that speaks to the psychology associated with showing up and feeling good and
Oh, wow.
putting yourself forward.
Oh my goodness. Well, I want to jump right into this conversation. Tell me, what are you hearing from your clients in today's market as they are showing up? Because with inflation and changing job market, and we're getting younger, and all those things, what are you hearing from your clients? What are they coming to you for? Because I know it's not just, hey Renee, what's my best color, or
Right.
that sort of thing. What is it that they're coming for, and how is it that you help slash support them?
Yes. So most of my clients are in corporate, right? So I'll have women who are, so they're progressing their careers, they're moving up or they're wanting to move up.
Mhm,
And so some of the challenges, there are quite a few. Some can be that they feel like they have done everything that they can. They've gotten the certifications. They have reached out for the mentors. They have, they've worked on special projects, but still they're not moving up. They feel like they're being overlooked. They feel like others are passing them by. So that's something that's really important as well, right? So I talk about, being visible. Yes, you may put your head down and work, but and think that your work speaks for itself, but your work cannot speak, right? And I say that all the time.
Oh
You have
yes.
to be an advocate for your work and what you do and how you contribute. So I talk, we talk about visibility. And so with that, how do you use your style as a tool for visibility, right? That's something that I help clients with. And it's really one of the keys is really thinking about your style is an extension of who you are. So it's important to understand what you like, what, your personal brand. That's another big piece of it, right? In corporate, your brand, your personal brand is everything. That's what
Yes.
people know you for. That's what
Yes.
they expect. That's the feeling they have. So, using your style as a tool. And I always say that your style is the packaging of your personal brand.
Oh yes.
It's
Oh
the
yeah.
packaging, because listen, it's the first thing people see. Before you even open your mouth, before you have an
Yes.
opportunity to introduce yourself, people see you and they make assessments. And data tells us that within a few seconds, people start to make judgments. They make,
Yes.
you know.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so my position is, since we know the game and we know that happens, let's stack the deck in our favor and ensure
Yes.
that
Yes.
the message that we are sending is a message that we own. So own your narrative, message that we own, and you're giving them the language that you want to describe who you are.
That's right. That's right. Way back, one of the things I remember when I was graduating from college, my mom said to me, dress for the job you want, not the job you have.
Yes.
And while it's a lot more than just, superficial, having, name brands and that sort of thing, it was important to, for example, wear three pieces. For example, one, a nice tailored jacket, not anything fancy, but something that fits you properly. Something that covered at whatever it needed to cover. You have a nice pair of slacks that you can put on, and a nice dress shirt and a shell. And I just thought, how do you make this work, right? Because it's not a uniform, but it actually is a uniform of sorts, right? When you find out the cuts that work well for you, you need to have a good seamstress. At least I did anyway, because depending on whatever it was, I needed one size of the top and one size of the bottom, or, I'm 5'2", so I always need things, taken up, and so on and so forth. And so one of the things that I realized is that when I began to invest in the way that I looked, then, as you say, whether you're just walking into a meeting or you're interviewing or maybe you're giving a talk, you stand or sit with your shoulders a little higher. And it's not for them, it's for you, right? Because you know what you know, what you know.
Yes.
But also, like you said, people assess, judge, we'll call it that,
Sure.
what they're looking at. And so if you can make sure that you keep them here and in your head where you want them to go, then that's one less thing to worry about. And so I really thought, okay, do a lot of people think about that? Because especially with the pandemic, the pandemic wreaked havoc on a lot of things. And with the stress that it had, a lot of people, got into like athleisure and, like pajamas and that sort of thing. And while that was, I'm going to even say necessary, you had to know when to do what.
Yes.
And so I love that, what is it? Skims is one of them. And what's Rihanna's line? Anyway, different lines came up with like elevated, if you call it that, leisure wear at home. So sweats weren't just sweats. And I didn't want to go buy the expensive Lululemon stuff, right? I didn't want to. But if you wanted to, fine. I still wanted something that, again, when I showed up to my meetings, when I, was meeting with a client, whatever the case might be, that I showed up appropriately so we could get whatever it was we needed to get done. And then the way that I looked, so to speak, was not a distraction, right?
Right.
And
that's
so
the other thing. Right.
It's very, very important that we do that. So I'm going to turn it over to you now. Ask me some questions. Let's talk strategy.
Absolutely.
I'm going to ask you some fashion questions.
Yes, I want to hear about, as a career person, a woman in career in corporate who's building her career. What are some of the key watchouts or some of the key tips or that you would suggest that is important
Yeah.
as we are looking to progress?
Yes. So number one, the three main pillars that I hang my hat on when I'm working with people is called the RNA method, like DNA, RNA method, because there's a chemistry, right? There's an art and science to what we do. So the R is for rebrand, the N is for network, and the A is for the third part is achieve recognition. And when I say rebrand, it's you're a teacher, but for whatever reason you're ready to progress, your goals have changed, you can rebrand using your key transferable skills to get into different roles, to stretch yourself, to make more money, to travel, whatever it is. So I teach them how to really go to the core of what is it they know how to do, and not by necessarily going back to school and getting more education. It's by using what they already know. So it's starting from experience, right, as opposed to scratch. So how can they rebrand? What are the needs in the market? Where does that intersect with the work that they'd like to do? And if they're unsure, what are some initial places that they can start so that it makes sense for them financially and otherwise? So
I like that rebrand point. Just sorry to cut you, because
No, you're fine.
sometimes we feel that I can do this and we box ourselves
Yeah,
into just
yeah,
into this box and this
correct.
one thing that we can do. And we fail to realize that doing the fact that we have done this one thing
Hmm.
successfully
Hmm.
shows that we have skills, though those skills can be transferred to other areas. Those skills can be used
Absolutely.
in completely different ways. Uh,
Hmm.
so I think it's really important that at keys to really keep your mind open and think
Yes.
about how else can your skills be used.
Absolutely. And sometimes people hear, these terms like, key skills, hot skills, transferable skills. They're not sure what they are. So what I will typically do is start with them and say, okay, if somebody were to, let's say, talk about the work you did, or if you were to talk through the tasks that you completed, or if you were to get a performance review, what is it that they say you do and you do well? And how long have you done it? And, what types of industries have you worked in? Helping them to kind of unpack what these key transferable skills are, because language, right? Language is how
Language.
we get to what we need to.
Yes.
That's the first thing. The second thing is networking. So as they're thinking about who they come into contact with, both internally in their firms or externally clients they interact with, or even within their firm, a group outside of their immediate work group, who is it that they're interacting with? Because sometimes, again, when you show up in that space of, here's my corner of the pie, this is what I know about it, this is how I can help you advance, or this is what we are doing or trying to achieve. Again, you create that, I'm going to say, wealth of knowledge and exposure to you, not them to you and you to them, but to you and what you bring to the table. So when you show up, for example, like myself, if I use myself as an example, in my 9 to 5, I work in a lot of change management and culture change and transformation. And so when I go into a conversation, that's typically the lens that I'm looking at it from. But that's whether it's AI, that's whether it's healthcare, that's whether it's education, that's whether it's an IT implementation, that's always the lens, right? So I try to be as well read about not only trends, but historically what has happened, what we see the market is doing right now, that sort of thing. So you're kind of like their living encyclopedia. At least you know more than anybody else about that
Exactly.
particular
And
topic
that is
in the
such a
room.
big piece of your career and building out your career, right?
Yes,
Because it is a part of your brand, right?
yes,
You want,
yes,
as you are being visible for the
yes,
right reasons,
yes,
right?
yes.
It's important that you absolutely network, that you are
Mhm.
connected to the people
Yes,
who are the decision makers, the people
yes,
who can progress you, the people
yes.
who can
Drop
advocate
your
you, the
name.
people who can call your name when you're not
Yes,
in the room in
yes.
spaces that you didn't even know existed,
Yeah, I mean,
right?
soft skill, that's essential. That's a phrase I don't particularly care for. Soft skills need to be renamed human centered or essential skills, because
Absolutely.
that is not something you can teach in a book, right? That's something that it's a muscle that you build after you do it and you do it and you do it, and you meld that into what your personality is. And again, show up again like, hey, this is what I know, and this is my experience, and this is what I would advise, making your voice heard. So again, positioning yourself. And typically, I'm going to say, not typically, culturally, that's usually a switch, right? Because we come into the room and we're absorbing and we're trying to learn, so we're not saying a lot. Nope. Get in there, say what you have to say, contribute to the
Absolutely.
conversation so that people
Yes.
know you as the go-to person. Not that you know everything, but you're a good resource to them for information that they would need, and you can go and get it and bring it back and that sort of thing. So
Or
that's
ask questions. If you're in a
exactly.
meeting, ask questions.
Yes.
Let people get to know you, be
Yes.
visible. Ask a question and then add to it, right?
Yes.
Add some
Yes.
of your background so that people can
Yes.
see that you're bringing something to the
Yes.
table as well.
Yep, yep, yep. And you know, it's
I
funny you
agree.
should say that, because when you say ask questions, I was watching um not documentary, but a meeting that Melody Hobson from Ariel Investments had about 6 weeks ago. And she was saying, as she, you know, leads her teams, that she doesn't go in like, okay, I'm here,
Know
these are the
everything.
decisions, everybody. She's like, no, she goes in and she asks questions. And
Absolutely.
she said sometimes they're like shocked, right? That she's asking all these questions. And she said she's not asking the questions to be annoying. She's asking the questions to make sure she has the right context, she has the information. And even then, you know, she said she's still, you know, making sure that she, again, percolates on what people are saying to her.
Mm.
And if there's something they haven't said, she asks more questions, because she said a lot of times when you come in and, you know, there's a lot of perceived, they call it power,
Mhm.
right, with the
Mhm.
bosses and the leaders and so on. She said, we have the title, but we don't know everything. And
Absolutely.
we need, you know, to be fed, so to speak, the information and context that we may not get because we're not boots on the ground, right?
Right.
So we
Absolutely.
need that. Asking
Excellent point.
questions
Yeah.
is definitely something we have to do. So that's key
Sometimes we
in your
see
network.
asking questions as a weakness, where it really isn't. It is a strength, because
It
when you
is.
ask the questions, first of all, there's visibility. People are seeing you, that
Yes.
who is this
Yes.
person? And then
Yes.
the quality of the question that you're asking as well,
Yes.
right? You're bringing with that some type of knowledge or something,
Yes.
maybe just want to know. And
Mhm.
then you've learned from that.
That's right. That's
You've
right.
learned
And not
from that
just
and
the
you
way
can
they
take that.
answer, but who's in the room. You've
Yes.
learned who's in the room as well. So I
Yes.
think that's really important. The final thing is achieving recognition. And in achieving recognition, one of the things that, you know, again, we have to unlearn is recognition is not external to internal. It can also be internal to external. And so by that I mean, yes, you can go and get all these certifications, you can be the best salesperson of the year, you can blah 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 blah. But what are you doing to make sure that you have your proof points? So have you written any thought leadership? You know, have you given any workshops? Have you, you know, come up with a more efficient way to do XYZ? My point is the things that you have tried and done that have been successful, and in some cases, maybe even moderately successful, you can coin those things as yours to be
Yes.
able to go out and say, well, I am good at so and so because I've done this and I've done that. So, a prime example of that is about 3 years ago, I wanted to start doing speaking public speaking. And I was like, okay, I want to get on the TED stage. I want to get on the TED stage. Because for me, the TED stage was like this big, you know, Madison Square Garden point.
Absolutely.
And with working full time, I was like, okay, how am I going to do this? Right. Well, you know what, Renee? I started to follow speakers. I'm like, well, let me see what these speakers are doing. And not just speakers, but speakers that look like me. Well, guess what they would do? They would get into these different groups and pitch themselves. They would learn that, for example, you need a signature speech. They would learn what the speech needed to have, whether it was elements of storytelling, a framework, that sort of thing. They would learn how to navigate, you know, the event planners versus people in the room, and how you can build that level of relationship. Well, about 20 speaking engagements later with a full-time job, I've created the proof that, hey, I can speak. I haven't gotten to TED yet, but I'm building my way there. So that's why I'm saying you create your success by setting your
Absolutely.
goal on what it is that you want to do. And then you create the environment to get what it is that you want.
Yes.
So it's important that we do that. And you know what? I just see a comment here from one of my colleagues,
Lovely.
Kermit. And he was talking about how people box themselves in. And so it's important that we don't, because again, as we're talking about achieving recognition, for example, when you think about yourself at a broader level, it's a great way to create the impact, right? And
Yes.
basically show others how to do that and position yourself as a leader in the
Yes.
market. So
Yes.
this is just
And
amazing.
just I want to touch on what you said, because it's such a big point of being a speaker. If you want to be a speaker, then speak. right? And I think that's a jump that a lot of us don't make. If
Yes,
you want to
yes,
be a leader,
yes,
lead. So then, and
yes,
then what is it, the gap between that? So,
yes,
for a speaker to speak, you went through the steps of, okay, what do they do? And then you
yes,
started speaking,
yes,
right? You
yes,
started
yes, yes,
speaking, right?
yes.
Sometimes so we want to be this, but we don't really know how to start.
We're
And then we
waiting
see
on
the results.
permission, right? Or to be
Oh,
told how to do it. Yes.
and
Sometimes
so
our path is an undefined path that we have to create as we're
create,
doing it,
we have to create, right?
as
We have
we
to
are doing
create.
it. So that was great. That was great. But yes,
I
that
love that.
is my answer. Okay, what next? What do you
I
have?
love that. So, what about women professionals who are maybe
Hmm.
transitioning industries,
Hmm.
transitioning roles? Are there
Hmm.
any lookouts or anything that you'd suggest there?
So I would say, piling on from that framework, one of the things that people want to really think about is the human centered slash soft skills, right? Especially in this market, it's less about the titles that you have and more about the results that you've been able to either be a part of or drive. So if you come prepared, and that's to just about any conversation with decision makers in the room, whether you need something from them or not, and you're ready to give the quick, I'm going to say, pitch of how you work through a particular problem that came up, whether it was a client, issue or challenge, of course, keeping their names and so on private. But if you're able to walk through people through a particular issue and how you handled it and what the context was and that sort of thing, then you can show how you can be adaptable and agile on your feet. And so that's one of the things that I encourage women that I work with to do, because I said, you're already doing this. If you come home right now and you see water on the floor, you're not a plumber. And you're not necessarily going to get down on your knees and clean everything. I said, but you're going to sop that water up. You're going to turn off the water source. You're going to call whoever you need to call, or maybe you will get under there. But you know how to adapt. Now, this is you coming in 3-inch heels. You're tired and your house is underwater, right? What are you going to do about that? So I said to them, I encourage them, where have those types of things happened at work? Because yes, you're here to do your job, whatever that job is. But what are the key moments, right? What are the moments that, if you were to think back over the last 6 months where you came in and you had to take those key skills and apply them in a way that you never thought? Because when you're handling those, I'm going to say, unplanned things, that's when you go into, I'm going to say, resourceful mode, right?
Yeah.
Where you are pulling on, okay, you can't scream at the plumber, even though you're like, oh my God, my house is underwater. You're going to have to be a good client and get on the phone and explain to them clearly what has happened. In addition to that, you have to have some level of calm with regards to cleaning up what's here. And again, I'm just using this, house model, but we do that at work all
Yeah.
day, all the time.
And
So
you
talk
made
about those times.
I love that. You made a good point about being adaptable, right? And that is something else when when I'm working with clients who are transitioning, or sometimes maybe older clients who are have to get back into the job market. They haven't looked for
Mm-hmm,
a job in a long time, and
mm-hmm,
they need to get back. And a way that they can use their style, as again I always say, their style is a tool. Think about it. When you don't want to look dated, right? When
yes,
you are
yes,
going for a job interview, it's important that you look current. I'm not saying that you have to be trendy, but it's important that
yes,
you look current because
yes.
as I said, our style is a communication tool. So
Mm-hmm,
when you look, if you show up and you look dated, what that tells someone is, oh, their skill set is also dated.
mm-hmm,
They're
mm-hmm,
not with it with what's happening in the industry. They're
mm-hmm,
not in touch. They're out of touch.
mm-hmm,
And so when you show up current, it tells them that you're adaptable. You have a
mm-hmm,
growth mindset. You're open
mm-hmm,
to change, right? So
mm-hmm,
your style communicates in so many ways. So that's
mm-hmm.
why I say it is an important tool that when we
Yeah,
understand how to leverage,
yeah.
it's something great to have to your career toolkit.
Absolutely. One other thing that I also tell them is that when they're transitioning and they are considering interviewing for a particular role, or there's a particular company that they want to work for, or industry that they're breaking into or transitioning into, for lack of a better word, talk about how they have mapped their skills and experience to what the company cares about, or if it's a particular job, how you've done what it is that they're looking for. And I also tell them, don't focus on checking the box of all 10 requirements if there are 10 requirements. If you meet 4 to 6 of them, I would tell them, like, hey,
That's a woman thing, right? We feel we have to get all
all
10
the
of the
things.
boxes checked.
I wouldn't even worry about how important the things are on the list that they check. If they just show that they meet some, whatever the sum is, show them how you've used it. Show them how you've applied it. Show them how you've delivered results through doing that.
And what that shows, when you can show that, it shows that you can learn, right? And that's any company you go to, they're going to teach you their way of doing things.
Exactly.
Right? They're going to teach you your way. So once you have the aptitude, you can learn. You've shown you're agile. You've shown that you have mastered. You can, again, transferable.
Move around.
So tell us, is there any who is joining us? Anybody, let us know where you are listening from. Drop in the comments if you are watching the live or the replay. Let us know if you have any questions while we are chatting. If there's any situation that you are dealing with personally or currently, or that you're thinking about, or have some anxiety over, drop in the comments. We would love to help and answer some of those questions while we are here. And if you're watching the replay, drop it in the comments and we'll be sure
respond.
To respond.
Yes. We really value your input. You know, it's important to talk about people that have not only pivoted and thrived, but also that have reimagined how they show up. I remember, at first, it was more about, well, how are you showing up? What is it that you bring to the table? But it's not just that. I'm going to say the unsaid thing is how you look when you show up. And so that's important, how you feel when you show up, and authentically be who you are in a way that, you're comfortable, the people around you can hear what you have to say, and you mean what you say behind
and
it.
why that's important, it's not so much what you're wearing. I'm wearing this top of this pants. It's because it's an energy.
Yes,
right?
Correct.
It's energy. When you're feeling good, when you are feeling confident, your energy shifts, right? And it follows you. People feed off that energy. People can see it. People can feel it. So it's about energy. It's about really showing up high energy, high vibe, and leaning into your skills.
Yep. One last thing that I also encourage people to do as they are transitioning is embracing their non-linear path, because a lot of times, they'll say, well, I don't have an MBA from, Brown or Harvard or whatever the case might be. Or, one that I come across all the time is project management. People say, well, I don't have my PMP, my project management professional certification. I can't get into it. And I was like, you're looking at somebody that doesn't have it. Get it. If you feel like you need it, fine, but don't let that stop you. Because if you have been in a particular industry and you demonstrate those characteristics, you've met the requirements, you've done the work, guess what you can do? That thing. No, we're not talking heart surgery. Please do not get your heart surgery instructions from ChatGPT and think you can come and perform, heart surgery.
Absolutely.
But, when it comes to the work that we're doing, at least most of us, outside of, life-threatening things like medical, I would say you can definitely earn your stripes by the work that you've done. And so, give yourself credit for what it is that you've done and promote yourself that way, because you bring that level of emotional intelligence, wisdom, and experience to the table. And also stay well read in your industry, right? So you can't just know what you know and be working. Are you reading? Are you staying up to date? Are you connecting to the change makers in your industry, so you keep your finger on the pulse of what's happening? That, I think, is very important, and that's how they promote themselves.
You have to. And then you talk about promote yourself. That's something else that I think is sometimes we feel afraid to do that. Like, oh, they'll know about me because of my work. Talk about what you do. If we don't know, if I don't know how you serve, if I don't know what skills you bring, if I don't know what project you worked on, if I don't know how you contributed and the impact you made, then how do I know? Right? I can't highlight you for a special project. I can't suggest you to work on a special team. Right? So all of these things, we have to get comfortable talking about what we do, because just think of it this way: our gifts are here to serve the world. So if you are great at your job and especially if it's impacting the bottom line of you and you had a particular role on a project, let people know, especially, groups, or especially people who are thought make decision makers
Yes,
in
yes.
your organization. It's really important that they know, because if they don't know, they
Oh
don't
my
know.
goodness. Oh my goodness. Well, and most importantly, if people say, well, what are we going to tell them when we talk to them? Your skills translate across different industries. Talk about it. You can solve problems in new ways, and you probably have already done it. Talk about it. You thrive under pressure, because we're all under pressure at different points. Talk about it. It's not too much. You're not taking up, too much room. Have your, I'm going to say, top 3 things that, if I were to meet a leader in XYZ, or if I was to meet someone in this particular industry, not even a particular leader, but just someone that, is in an industry that you are interested in or looking to get into, have those things ready. When you have those things kind of top of mind, then they have no choice but to not
Then it
overlook
just comes.
your top
Exactly.
of mind.
And it can be conversational. We're not
Yes.
saying that you get up here and talk, but just in conversation, and you talk about, if it's a key initiative of your organization, you can talk about how you impacted this initiative. What role did you play? And
Yes.
when we were working on X project, I was so excited to be able to do bam,
Yeah.
bam, 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 and to see the results, right? So bring it into conversation,
Oh,
and you
yes.
want to highlight the role that you played.
Oh my
I'm
goodness. I
not
just
saying visible doing busy work, right? Not busy work. I'm talking about work that is impactful, work that
Oh, yes.
impacts the bottom line, work
Yeah.
that is a part of their strategic initiatives for the year. Those are the types of jobs and activities and roles that you want to spend your time doing, not being a worker bee, just
That's right.
constantly doing, because zero value, right? It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
translate. Whereas if they can
Doesn't.
see how you impacted the bottom line, how you impacted special project, then we're talking, right?
Oh,
Then
yeah.
that is how you're advancing your personal brand.
Yeah. I encourage people to always remember, it's always time to rethink how you evaluate qualified. Right. So if you've been in a career for X number of years and now you're, transitioning, or, you're changing, you are not new. You have X number of years of experience, and you transitioned into blah, 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 blah. So when I talk about it, I call it being a practitioner. Right.
Yes,
So
you're
you're
right.
less of a, like, for example, I was in teaching for X number of years and now I'm in consulting. Well, to be honest, the skills are very much alike. So I talk about creating that change for people. I started here and I'm here now. So I have over 20 plus years doing XYZ.
Yeah.
Specific to consulting, if they wanted to ask, then yes, I started that in 2006 and blah, 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 blah. But again, really, really stay in that place of, as they evaluate what they've done to be qualified, to be in certain rooms, to have a point of view, they probably want to lower that bar for themselves,
Yeah.
and then really embrace that, so that when they share this point of view with someone else, it comes through confidently. It
Yeah.
comes through in a way that you've effectively communicated it, and it matches up with how they look.
Lovely. This conversation is so good, but hold on. Any comments or any questions from anyone? Please, we'd love to hear from you. Put it in the chat and tell us. We have something special coming up, Patrice. What's next? There's so much goodness here.
Oh my
We have
goodness.
to
So
continue it.
what comes next is, and I will share it, we have a workshop that is coming up on January 30th. We did it from 6 to 8 p.m. And there's the link, and there's also a QR code right above Renee's head. And in this workshop, it is going to be the full out way of how we command the room. What is it that you need to do? You will have your own personal action plan with regards to how you can prepare to transition, what you need to look like when you're thinking about how to show up, what are the style choices you want to make, what are your talking points. It will basically be your 2-hour boot camp that literally, as we are transitioning or considering what we want to do next, gives you all the things you need in your toolkit, and you're ready to go, and you show up as the leader that you are. So January 30th, and click the link right there. And when you click the link, it'll take you to the site where you can register. So we have kept it small in the sense that, I think, what is it, Renee? We said at max, 20 people was what we
Yeah,
were looking
maybe.
for in
Yeah.
the room,
So
so that we can have that interactive. It's going to be interactive. It's going to be
yeah.
action-packed, 2
Yeah.
hours. where Renee and I are going to talk. We're going to show examples of how to do it. We're going to model it. And you take this away with you for you to be able to use once you attend. So we
I
are so
love I
excited
love the action plan that Patrice is talking about, because it really is going to help you wherever you are in your career to really set a plan and plan it out as you put different strategies and steps in place. And then for my piece, I'm also going to talk about different scenarios that in corporate that you could experience. And I encourage you to bring your situation, bring your experience, your questions, and we can workshop that. You're also going to get it when you register. I'm going to put together a style board and with actual links to
Yes.
clothing and pieces that are great for the corporate space. All the different scenarios, different types of jobs, different roles, and kind of what the expectation is in terms of dress. So you'll have shoppable links. So it'll make it easy for you and remove some of that uncertainty when you need to, because you need to curate a wardrobe that's polished, that's professional, and still feels authentic to you. So that will be a part of what you get when you join us. But it's going to be more of this conversation, a little bit more formal, but more of this career tips, really strategy with style, and how when we put those two things together, how it really elevates you as a competitor in the job market, elevates your career, elevates what you're available for.
And the live group coaching element, I mean, it's going to be phenomenal because we're going to have interactive exercises. We're going to talk about not just confidence in the sense of this is what you need to say, but also what you need to wear. And as you can see by the beautiful pieces that Renee has behind us, it's going to be something that you've never seen before. So we are really, really excited. So if you found value in this session, like we said, the full workshop will be on January 30th at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You'll get the tools, the strategies, and that personalized guidance that really helps you to command the room.
Yes. And if you have questions before, feel free to reach out to us. Either of us will be happy to chat offline and give you some more info.
That sounds great.
Well,
anything else before we sign off, Renee?
I think that is it. I just welcome you all to join us for the full workshop. Yes, exciting. Love the topic. It's such a powerful topic, such an important topic that we need to give a little bit more airtime to so that we can truly use it as a tool.
Oh my goodness. And we have one comment. We have a comment that came in, so I'm going to put it up. And Rhonda says, we often say to dress how you want to be addressed. Oh, I love that. Okay. I'm going to take that, Rhonda. I love it. But how do Black and brown women surmount this? There's issues of hair, nails, and choice of colors, and the demands on these measures. And the demands on them using these measures often set by others, we'll say. So I'll add one more in there, Rhonda. Size is one, too. There's a lot of things. Ageism is another one, right? How do we do that? I'm going to say this. We show up with our lips and our hair, and we make them listen. I'm going to say make them. I don't mean that in a forceful way, but we command the room, right? We do this. We build the muscle, and we are striving to be in places where our presence is valued. We work to really make our work speak for itself. Now, we're not living in, an ivory tower or looking through rose-colored glasses. The world is still what it is, but we still power through with our resilience and in community discussions like this to really show up accordingly. Renee, I'll toss it to you.
I agree. Yes, we show up. Right, we continue showing up until we're normalizing, until we normalize.
Yes,
this is how we are, right? This is who we are. This is how we do our best work. This is how we feel good. This is how we feel confident.
Rhonda,
great that you are here.
Yes. We're just so glad for this input. And if there's anything else that popped up, like Renee said, afterwards, feel free. We're going to share the replay. Please leave your comments. We would love to see you on the 30th. please share this with your community and
Yes,
colleagues. Share it with
please
someone
share.
that would benefit from this. You know
Right.
what I mean? We would
Yeah, if you
definitely
know
love to
someone
have.
who is looking for a job, who is transitioning careers, who wants to move up in their careers, this
Or
would be
who's
a
thinking about it even.
perfect opportunity.
Absolutely,
Yes,
absolutely. We get
lovely.
the job done. We get the
Yes,
job done. So thank you so much
absolutely.
for spending your lunchtime with
Thank
us
you.
today. How you show up absolutely matters, and we can't wait to help you elevate your presence even further. So thank you to everyone. Renee, heartfelt thank you. And I
Yes,
can't wait
thank
until
you.
the 30th when we get
Thank
together.
you. Yes, thank you.
All
Thanks for
right.
having me.
Thanks,
Take
everybody.
care.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.